KatrinasCreations Knitting Podcast. This is episode 62, and we have over 400 subscribers. I looked on the YouTube channel right before I started filming, and we have 402 subscribers. So if you are new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click the little red button down below. And if you click the little bell next to it, you will get notifications through YouTube letting you know whenever I upload a podcast, which most of the time is Saturdays. But sometimes I slip one in between if I think there's something fun or interesting to share. So if you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back each week and for being part of our knitting group. So, lots to share again this week. I do not have any finished objects. If you hear like background noise in the background, it's not a giant helicopter landing or anything like that. I've got the heater running right behind me. I film in my upstairs craft room, and it's really, really cold up here. We shut the heating vents in our upstairs because everything, like our bedroom and everything's down on the first floor. So we don't use the upstairs other than, like, my husband has his study next door and I have the craft room here. That also is a spare bedroom. So when it's not being used, we tend to not put the heat up as high upstairs. So it's chilly up here. And I also live in south central Pennsylvania, right above the Maryland border. So I'm in the mid-Atlantic states on the East Coast, and if you've watched the news, we all up along the coast are getting slammed with frost and ice and everything else. It is cold outside there today, guys. The wind is hitting against the house as I speak, and I can hear it like rattling the windows. I went to work today and about froze. I work for a library system, and I work with the mobile services department, which means that I'm out on like vehicles going to visit people with books. And it was cold today. Every time we'd hop back in the car, we'd turn the heat on like full blast. So yeah, it's cold out. I'm wearing my shawl, which I will show you just briefly, and then I'm going to put it right back on. This is my first Drachenfell shawl. I am currently making another one in different shades of purple, but I didn't work on it this week, so I won't show it to you. But this is an older one that I made. Well, I say older. I finished it last spring, I believe. So here is what it looks like. Drachenfels is named after I think it's a hill in Germany, and the pattern is by Melanie Berg, and I like a lot of her patterns, as you will see in the podcast. I'm making a second one of these, like I said, in purple. I've made On the Spice Market, which is also by Melanie Berg, and I'm making a second On the Spice Market. So, yeah, I like Melanie Berg patterns. They're very well written, and I enjoy them, and there's just enough difference to keep it interesting, but it's not hard. So, anyway, let's get started. I'll start with my works in progress. I have been working on my newest pattern, which, here's a picture of it. Right now, it is being called Katrina's Lacy Shawl. We do have an official name for it. My mother and my daughter and my daughter-in-law and both of my granddaughters all put their votes in. And so we do have a name for it, but I'm not going to announce it until the pattern is officially being released, which should be pretty fast. Actually, I have been very blessed with 2 test knitters that, yes, they should get racing stripes for how fast they are knitting these. I've talked to both of them, and they've caught up to where I'm at, because I'm also knitting the same shawl over again as I go through the pattern. And they've caught up. One is beyond where I've done. So I have some very fast test knitters. So thank you, Yoka and Monica. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for your patience when I've had to make some changes, especially Yoka, because she was in on it at the beginning when I was working out a few little mistakes. My computer and I have a love-hate relationship, and when I was typing the pattern, it kept freezing, and then it would pop the words in odd spots, and I didn't catch all of the mistakes, and so yeah. So anyway, but it's all worked out now. So let me show you how far I have gotten with re-knitting my shawl pattern. It's all tangled up here. Here we go. This looks like a yarn alien, doesn't it? Little antennas. I have lots of yarn aliens apparently this week, but a little yarn alien. My Drachenfels, the second one, has a lot of these colors in it, grays and purples. So this is my pattern so far for the reknit. And I have discovered that by doing it in variegated colors, it does not show the texture of the shawl as well. So I will try to hold this close. Some of this you'll be able to see better once it blocks. You can see there's my marker where I was at last week. I'll hold this back in a minute, but I'll hold it up close so you can at least see the stitches. And now I'll hold it up this direction. It actually goes this way, but it's all kind of bunched up on my needles right now. So, and it's got some odd pooling in a few spots, like right in here. So the next time I knit this, it will not be with a variegated yarn. I think the solid colors make it look much better, and the, like I said, the texture of the stitches, because it does have lots of different stitches. None of them are overly hard, but yeah, I would definitely do it with a solid yarn. And then you can see right here where I've got these little stringies. This is where I ran out of my first ball of yarn, and this is my second ball. This is yarn I got from Knitology. It was in the October Knit Crate box, and it is called Baneberry. I think it's an 80-20, if I remember rightly. I could be totally wrong, but I think it's an 80-20. So that is this project, and like I said, it will be released as soon as all of us the test knitters and myself finish it. Then I will finalize the pattern, and I will announce the name choice and who the winner is, and the person that is the winner will be receiving a free pattern. So the next thing I've been working on, I have my On the Spice Market. This one I have not progressed all that much. I started it in September, and I have not gotten all that far because I tend to just take it to knit night with me, because it's one that I don't necessarily need the pattern in front of me all the time. So you know what it's like at knit night, you get gabbing. So I try to bring something that's kind of easy to work on. Another yarn alien, yes, little antennas. So let me show you how far I've gotten with that. And it wasn't all that far. You can see this is where I was the last time I picked this up, right there. So I've knit here. And I do like the colors of this. I think it's kind of bright. It reminds me, like I've said before, of a stained glass window. And this all is one yarn. All these different colors in here are all from one ball of yarn. They're actually a, it almost looks like a sock blank that I'm unraveling and putting into this. So the actual pattern calls for you to use like 7 or 8, I think it's 7, different yarns, different colors of yarn. And this time I thought, I've got this variegated, and I wanted to put it with a black background just because I really thought it would pop well together. And so that's what I did. I'm not changing the 7 colors. I'm just letting it rotate through the variations as they come. So that is my next project. Then I did a little bit of work on my cozy memory blanket. And when I say a little, I mean a little. I did 2 squares. Let's see if I can find them. Here they are. I'm going to have like a major blizzard hit so I can sit one day and do nothing but weave in ends. I've got so many ends on this blanket. It isn't funny, but these are the two that I've done. This one is a, it looks brown. It's actually an olive kind of, there you can see it. It's kind of a khaki color. It's called Sage, but it is, to me it looks khaki. It's got a little bit of faint olive color to it. And then this is what I did my Bendy Arrow in, and it is Frolicking Feet by Done Roving Yarns, and the color was Barn Door or Barn Roof. I keep thinking Barn Roof. And it's like a variegated, kind of a dusty pink color. And I really like this color, so anyway, that's it. So that's the two squares that I've done, but look at all of the ends I'm going to have to weave in. They're not showing up here, but look at all these ends. They're like loose all over the place. So, yeah, I need a good blizzard and a good old movie that I can put on and just sit there and weave all the ends in. That would be my thing to do. Next, we have the poncho that I am working on, and this, once again, another yarn alien. I don't know what it is. I stick my needles through this. This was the funniest one though, yeah, no. But anyway, this is Katia Paint, and it comes variegated, as you can see. This is just an acrylic yarn. I've already knit the one side of the poncho. This is either the front or back. It's just the opposite side of the poncho. And here is my stitch marker from where I was last week. So I've knit that far. I'm not real far along in it yet. And the poncho, just like my shawl, the poncho goes this direction. So these are the colors. This is where I'm at right here. And then I'll go through this kind of khaki color. And then it goes into a rust. And then this is not a blue, this is a gray. And it's kind of got a purpley grayish color to it. It's right in here. So that is this. I've got quite a bit to go on this. It does turn out fairly well, fairly good sized. So I've been working on that. And then we have the sock along. It is officially the first week of our sock along. We are making the sock pattern by Sandy Turner. It is called the Blueberry Waffle Sock. And I am going to, I did not bring my socks up to show you right now because you're going to see them in the tutorial. That I'm going to put up in just a minute. But I thought I would tell you really quick about the sock along. You can do this pattern with us. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. Or you can pick any sock pattern you would like. You just won't have the tutorials for it. So anyway, and I'm sure there's other people who have done tutorials for the Blueberry Waffle Sock. It's been around for 20 years now. It's a very popular sock pattern, and it's a very easy sock pattern, but it really looks good. So that's what we're doing. And this week we will do the cuffs. So I will be doing a tutorial that shows how to do the cuffs for it. And then each week we'll do a different section of the sock, so that by the time we finish, we should have a completed sock. Now, here's the fun part of this. You can all knit at your own pace, but I'm hoping that we're going to, I'm thinking we should have a giveaway. We haven't done a giveaway since before Christmas, so I'm thinking we're going to do a giveaway. And here's what we're going to do. I am going to open up a thread on Ravelry in the Katrina's Creations group. So you'd have to join the group. And when you finish both of your socks, so when you finish your pair, so you got to have 2 socks. When you finish them, post a picture in the Ravelry group and just let us know what you used, or tell us about your socks or what pattern, whatever. And at the end of February, that should give everybody almost 2 months to knit a pair of socks. So the end of February, I will use random.org and I will draw a winner from the Ravelry group. Not sure what the prize is going to be yet. I'll have to do maybe a little shopping either in my stash or a little shopping at my local yarn shop. So not sure what the prize is going to be yet, but there will be a prize involved. So yeah, so we are going to do that, and I'm going to insert the tutorial right here. Alright, this is our first tutorial for our Blueberry Waffle Sock by Sandra Turner. And I have cast on 52 stitches as the pattern calls for. And you're going to begin, this is the cuff, you're going to knit 12 rows of 2x2 ribbing. Now the first thing you want to do, whether you are using 9-inch circulars, which is what I have, or if you're using double pointed needles, you want to make sure that all of your stitches are facing the same direction, or you're going to have your socks twisted and that isn't going to work. So you want to make sure all of the stitches are facing down, and then you're going to get ready for the join. Now you could just knit the next stitch and that would be perfectly fine. I tend to lock my circular stitches the first round, and how I do that, I take the very last stitch, while you're twisting again, I take the very last stitch on the left needle and I pass it to the right. And then I take the it would be my first stitch on the right side, and I pass it over that stitch and on to the left. So I haven't dropped any stitches. I've basically formed a crisscross of stitches. All that does is it just keeps from having a notch where the join is. It's not a necessary step. I just tend to do it. And then before I begin to knit, I'm going to put a stitch marker here so that I know where the beginning of the round is. And my stitch marker I just got from Joann's. It is just simply a jump ring from the jewelry department. And I think they came in a package of, oh, I don't know, probably about 50 in the package, and they were cheap, but I like them. They work, and they were cheap, and that works for me. So we're now going to be knitting a 2x2 ribbing. So you're going to knit 2 stitches, and then you're going to purl 2 stitches. What a rib stitch does in your cuff creates an elasticity so that your socks will stretch when they go over your ankles. So it's knit 2 and purl 2. And you are going to do 12 rows of this. And when you come to your stitch marker, when you've gone all the way around, you're just going to pass it from one needle to the next and keep on knitting. You just want to keep track of how many rows you've gone. And like I said, you're going to do 12 rows of the 2x2 ribbing. And that's the first step. I hope that was well enough explained for you. I'm still working on my tutorials, so hopefully that one's good. And you'll be able to understand what I put down or what I showed you. So now I'm going to move on to acquisitions, and some of these are belated Christmas presents, because if you tuned in last week you heard the Christmas that wasn't, because everybody got sick with the stomach ickiness, and so we kind of celebrated with one person one day and somebody else another day and somebody else another day. So we finally have gotten all Christmas out. We got everybody covered. So I thought I would share a couple of items that I got that I thought were especially nice. So anyway, my sister-in-law and my brother gave us in the Christmas card they gave us, there was this little knitting pattern that my sister-in-law had run across, and it's a fisherman's sweater. Let's see if I can get it close. Fishermen's sweaters tend to have a lot of texture to them. So this is a men's sweater. It is by Odham's Leisure Group. So I'm not sure if this is an older pattern. Looking at kind of the color of the paper, it's a little yellowed down here. I'm thinking this might be from an older pattern. I'm not sure. So anyway, my sister-in-law included this in the card that they gave us, so I'm going to set this aside. And then, oh, there we go. I dropped him. He was so cute. My supervisor gave me, she was giving us bookmarks. Look at this bookmark. Oh, he's getting blown out. You can't see him right there. You can see. Look at his little head. He's a little fuzzy sheep. There you can see him. Little fuzzy sheep, and he's reading a book. There he is sideways. And see, he has a little paper clip, and the paper clip allows him to sit on the book. He's going to sit in my craft room because I have lots of sheep in my craft room. Years ago, I had a secret pal through our church, and they found out that I liked spinning and spinning wheels and sheep and wool and all that kind of thing. And I got tons of gifts that included sheep with them. So I have like a whole flock of sheep running around my craft room. So if you watch one of my earlier intros where I show my yarn, you can kind of see the flock of sheep in the herd. But yeah, anyway, isn't he adorable? Okay, so you can't see his poor little face. There we go. He's just too cute. So, got a sheep. Then my daughter and son-in-law and the kids made these. This would be my grandchildren, where there's 7 in the family. They made me these coasters, and they say deck the halls. They've actually got the music sheets on them, and they're on tile. And then they shellacked the top of them, or varnished the top of them so they're waterproof. And they gave that to my husband and I for Christmas. So that one's especially cute. And they gave us a picture of all the kids, and so did my son and my daughter-in-law. They gave us a picture of all of their children as well. But for privacy issues, I'm not showing pictures of my grandchildren. We have them though. We've got 11 of them. So anyway, I've got new pictures to put in the picture frames. And last week I showed you the gifts that my son had actually made, where he'd made a handmade knife for my husband and a towel rack for me. So then I did a little shopping. Oh, no, I got one more thing. One more thing as a gift. My mother gave me this. She knows I love bags. I like handbags. I'm like handbag addictive. I love handbags, but this is not a handbag. This is a yarn bag. And it looks a lot like 31, but it's not. It's not quite the same quality as 31. But it's got a pocket here and a pocket here. Has my initial. And then on the back, it has a pocket on each side here. I don't think, yeah, there's not one in the middle. Pocket on each side here. So, and then it has a zipper. That went to knit night with me because it's perfect for that. It's good sized, as you can see. So, yeah, and if I knit the top, if I knit on the brain, if I zip the top together right here, it has these open sides, which are nice because I can put the balls of yarn in there and have the yarn threaded out through there, so it won't go flying all over the place. So that was a gift from my mother. Then I did a little shopping. If you remember last week, my husband and I had gone up to Lancaster and had gone yarn shopping, and I was looking for yarn that would go with this, which is Ancient Fiber Arts. See if I get this close enough. There you can see kind of the colors. The blue, what looks like blue is not blue. It's actually like a dark, dark green. It's just blues and greens show up funny on the monitors. Anyway, that's about, there we go. That color's good. So I was going to pair it with this. And the more I looked at it, I didn't care for it. I love these colors, but I don't like them together. As you can see, they're not bad, they're not horrible, but I ran across this, and this with it I think looks much better. It's kind of more fall type of colors, and this color actually is in here, like right in this section, so I think they will look very well together. So I bought this, and this is, it's called Classic Silky Wool. It is Elspeth Lavold. It is a 45% wool, 35% silk, and 20% nylon. It's a 50-gram skein, and there's 175 meters. I'm not sure what that works out to yardage-wise. But anyway, I got that as an accent color for this. So I bought that. And then I saw this other yarn. This is called Unique by Fiza Yarns. There's the label. And this is, it's 100% superwash merino. It's 100 grams, and there are 435 yards in here. It's a fingering weight. And I had this from vacation, which is Sweet Georgia. And it's like all different, it's a tonal kind of chocolatey brown. These two together. So that's what I bought acquisition-wise this week. And now we're going to do show and tell. My show and tell this week is both by the same person, who also happens to be one of my test knitters. Yoka sent a picture last week, which I showed, where she had constructed this gorgeous sweater, and it was laying across her sofa. She hadn't seamed it together yet, but she finished it. And so she's got a picture of it. I'm going to show you the front and the back of it. It's more like what we would call a vest, because it doesn't have sleeves. So, and I asked her, I said, she hand spun the yarn. So I asked her, you know, how did she do that? Did it come as a gradient pack and she spun it individually? And she said she had the different colors of the wool, and she started with one color, and she pretty much decided what order they were going to go in and spun them together along with a neutral that she plied it with. So she plied a neutral together with these colors. So anyway, I'm going to insert pictures of the completed project here. And she also does some teaching of people who are new to the Netherlands. I guess they're trying to learn maybe the language. So anyway, she crochets little stars for them and gave them to them for Christmas. So I'm going to insert a picture of her stars that she crocheted. If you remember last week, I got a little crocheted star too. This is from one of my subscribers. This is from Diane Luther, and it never actually made it onto my tree because I decided I wanted it to stay out all year long, so it's in my craft room where I can see it anytime I'm up here. So it never made it to the tree. I want to see it all year long, so it's sitting up in my craft room. I just sat it up on the shelf above where the camera is so I can see it when I'm knitting and when I'm working on my sewing machine. So I guess that is it for this week as far as the show and tell goes. Again, we have the sock along going. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and join us along with this sock along. It is a fairly easy pattern, so don't be intimidated by it. Otherwise, oh, I know, there's one other thing I wanted to do. I really enjoyed chatting back and forth with everybody, and I love hearing where you're from. And like I said, right now we are like in the polar zone in my area. So I thought it would be kind of fun if people leave comments down below. Tell me where you live. Not specifically. I mean, you know, like what state you live in or what country you live in or something like that. And if you live someplace warm, you might get lots of company from any of us that live on the East Coast. Only kidding. But anyway, I just think it's fun to find out where I've chat with people from like all over the world, and it's really exciting to see that we have a common thread with knitting. So yeah, let me know where you're from. It's fun, and I enjoyed talking with everybody. So I guess that's it this week. So hopefully next week will be warmer, and I guess I will see you next Saturday. So happy knitting, and get to work on your socks, and feel free to post pictures if you want to in the Facebook group. The contacts are below for the links, and yeah, might see your picture show up on the podcast here if you want those to show, or you can send pictures through my Yahoo address, which is KatrinasCreations@yahoo.com. You can send pictures that way too if you want if you want your item to be included in our show and tell. So until next week, I'll talk to you later. Bye everybody.